continuano a dire Berlusconi a casa, creandomi un certo disagio, perché disponendo di 20 case non saprei in quale andare.
Hello guys, and welcome back to a new episode of Italian Politician of the Week. I am Ipernik, the Great is Silent, and today we're talking about Aboubakar Soumahoro, the Unionist of Ivorian descent whose mission is to protect and fight for the rights of the primary sector workforce, hence the people who go pick up fruit and vegetables, the backbone of Italian agriculture when it comes down to it. If I sound a bit off, it's because I'm recording from a different location than usual. Today's video will be a bit different, since I intend to use Soumahoro's activism to shed more light on his cause and to add something to the whole migrant talk I started with Lucano's video last month. Soumahoro was born in 1980 and moved to Italy in 1999. Just like many young men moving here at that age, he started off doing odd jobs, one of which was picking up crops in specific times of the year in difficult conditions. In 2010, he graduated in sociology in Naples and soon after started his career as a unionist. His first glimpse of fame came in 2018 when he appeared on the TV debate show Propaganda Live. There he publicly spoke out on the sketchy nature of the sector and the poor conditions of the people he represented. The local farmers and landowners, when it is time to pick up fruits and vegetables to sell to urban centers, usually cannot be bothered to employ hundreds of people to do the job, and so they ask a middleman called the capolorato, who has contacts of people who would be available to work there with little to no time notice. The capolorato is typically a very influential figure who is oftentimes associated to organized crime. They are Italian most of the time, but there have been many recorded cases of them being from Eastern Europe or Africa. They will get their manpower from secluded communities, living in huts or tents covered in trash, and pay them 2 to 3 euros per hour to work for a whole day, regardless of the weather. These people can't really negotiate or find better work elsewhere because they do not have the means nor the skills to do so, and if they strike, the capolorato can either find someone else or kill them. By speaking out about this issue, Soumahoro brought some highly anticipated attention on the issue by the public. However, nothing really substantial came from the political class, which was too busy virtue signaling. The people who Soumahoro is trying to protect are not always willing to cooperate due to their unfamiliarity to unions, their lack of documents, and their ignorance towards their rights. But things did change for the better in the following years. Giuseppe Conte's cabinets did a lot to deal with the issue compared to previous ones, especially the second one, which is something that Conte should be credited for more often. Sadly, the final results were underwhelming. Let's begin with the board. So apparently in July 2019, an official meeting was called to discuss the issue of borderline slavery on the fields. The people involved were the Minister of Employment, Luigi Di Maio, okay, Minister of Agriculture Centinaio, okay, I never heard of you, and Minister of the Interior Matteo Salvini. Oh wow, Salvini, Di Maio, and that guy over there are going to solve the problem finally. And the cabinet fell and Conte is now best friends with PD. Oh, look at that, the board is cancelled. A few months later, the pandemic started and the government is too busy doing damage control. Aboubakar doesn't give up though, and when things slow down in June 2020, he goes on hunger strike to get the attention of Prime Minister Conte. After a few hours, he managed to get a meeting with him, thus requesting the government to finally address the issue. Among the many things he suggested, there was one Conte particularly agreed on, it being a food license, something producers should have to guarantee the lawfulness of their products. This is a great idea in my opinion because it would incentivize businesses to teach capoloratos and make proper legal contracts on their own own or through legitimate third parties. Sure, this might lead to an increase in food prices, but if more awareness is put into the issue and the sudden change in prices, I'm sure the customers will be more than happy to spend a few more cents for their fruits and vegetables if it's for a good cause. It has happened before with the measures of the environment and stuff. Among all ministers, Teresa Bellanova from Italia Viva was the most vocal about the issue. She was Minister of Agriculture, and even before the Soumahoro strike, she passed a law which tried to give more rights to undocumented workers. Basically, the law allowed the so-called invisibles to get the proper documents to join a union and other benefits through the employer. However, this law proved being extremely out of touch because the employers are borderline criminals who make the conscious choice to keep them invisible to pay them like shit. Bellanova did try though. She also used to be a fruit picker in her youth and got to where she is now due to her activism in unions, similarly to Soumahoro, though I have to admit that their efforts did little to nothing to actually solve the issue. Today, Soumahoro left his original union, USB, and founded his own association, the League of Laborers, to better tackle the phenomena, which will be far from a walk to the park. If you ask most people in the right, their response to the issue will be, yo, this wouldn't be an issue if you closed the ports like Salvini wanted to do. And yeah, you can't exactly argue with that. If there are no migrants, there will be less capoloratos, that's obvious. However, while it might reduce the issue to an extent, it won't fix it up, since a substantial part of the victims of such system is Italian. Plus, if you close all the ports, these migrants will just land somewhere else, essentially where no one can see them and identify them. This is actually how most the invisibles come to be, and Salvini's policy in many ways has only benefited the capoloratos. Coincidentally, this was when Soumahoro became more vocal about the issue, and I kind of see why. Personally, what I think should be done is to open ports in order to regulate the traffic of migrants so that they can be properly identified. We also need to build stronger relations with the countries where these people come from, so it will be easier to do background checks and to send them back to their country if necessary. This is what Minniti tried to do some years back, and it did work, although his methods were questionable at best. Alongside the regulation, we also need to introduce the food patent, which will encourage producers to be more involved in the way their products are picked and the humanity of the third parties. If immigration has to happen, let's make sure it's regulated and legal, and that the young men and women who decide to take part in our economy are treated just as fairly and feel just as represented as the average Italian. Then of course, if you decide to be a piece of shit, you can go fuck yourself, but we must not let the dickheads affect our sense of hospitality. How would you deal with the issue? Do you like Soumahoro? Let me know in the comments below. See you next time.